the location of the tower, whether it was toward the front or the center. But for the most part, this has held pretty steady throughout Phase A design. And then the rest of what we have in the presentation just shows the reconciliation of the program spaces, and again, acknowledging primarily the courtroom spectator space, as well as the addition to the family court spaces. As a result of that, the square footage of the building did increase beyond what was in the program, and more significantly than that, the impact of the project was the current construction climate, supply chain issues, pricing, and so forth that caused the budget to increase considerably. Some of that, a smaller percentage, is because of the increase in size, but the majority of the increase indicated here is because of costs that were foreseen based on current climate for construction materials and labor issues. And again, this has some current validity beyond even just a Phase A. Our office is also working on Oldham County.
Chief, it looks like we might have lost Jeff.
May have, instead of Xing out of the screen presentation, we might have closed him. So there, here he comes back. Push the wrong button. You're on mute, Mr. Gregory.
Somehow got booted out of the meeting, but anyhow, we're back. But again, the basis for the budget changes were primarily due to what we were seeing reported from two other current projects that we're working on, with one of which is ready to go out to bid immediately, and the other one closely following. It's interesting that on those two jobs, we had two different construction managers, two projects of vastly different sizes in two different parts of the state. And at Phase C, each of the construction managers came up with basically the same answer as far as projected costs at bid time for each of those buildings. And so using that current data, that's where the numbers you saw in your submittal came from. So if there are any questions on how that works financially, I see that we did have RJ Palmer here with our financial agent. Oh, there he is. So he would be able maybe to speak to that more specifically if you have questions on the financing itself and how that works. But I will get that back up here. And if you'd like to ask any questions regarding the submittal, I am happy to respond to that.
All right, questions now from what has been presented so far from anybody? I have a question. I'm trying to make sure I understand. I'm just looking at the whatever this called, the reconciliation spreadsheet looking thing. What's the restroom facilities for the judges? I see we've eliminated the restrooms for the judges. Right?
Okay, let me reshare my screen there. Okay, let's go back here. Well, on the second floor, there is still an isolated judge's toilet off of what would be the circuit judge's office. There's another one across the internal hallway from the secondary office for, well, it could be family or circuit, however they want to position themselves. But that, what they decided to do was to utilize the space here as a shared space between the judge and whenever this child waiting room was in use. And then on the first floor, the PDB also requested that rather than have the judge's toilet directly off of the judge's office, that it just be off of the suite internally so that other staff in there could more easily use it. So again, those were both specific requests from the PDB. So that's my brief explanation for it. If you wanted something more, they would probably need to expound on the rationale for that.
And Chief, I will note that we do have our Judge Rogers, our family court judge, who is on the PDB, as well as our county judge, Judge Newcomb. Let me see if there's any other PDB members. Bart Frazier is also with Judge Newcomb. So if there's any questions of the PDB, I think they would be able to answer that.
And Danny, it's Laurie. It might be fair to let the committee know that we did increase a request in use allowance this legislative session for Crittenden in this project, the projected cost increases, and that was authorized by the General Assembly. So I just want to let the group know that.
And I'm sure RJ will speak to that in just a second as far as how that impacts this project. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have another question too. I guess that maybe somebody on the PDB would be willing to speak to the elimination of the restroom facilities, or how it's been reconfigured for the judges. And now, does that vary from what we've sort of specified as minimum design requirements?
Well, first of all, let me just state, if I may, in this case, the toilet is across the hall. In this case, when I say hall, it's still internal or in the secure space, but same thing on the first floor. There was not a separate toilet for staff. They simply wanted the toilet that was already in the program to be located such that the staff could enter it without going into the judge's office. So as far as space requirements, not a whole lot of difference there. It's mostly a location difference.
And I was going to speak to that, Chief, that is the variation, that we have removed it from adjoining the office in those locations to more of a general staff area.
Chief, if I can add, the initial program specs we got were for 2 courtrooms, not one situated for family court. In this circuit, we have had family court since the beginning, and it did not allow separate space for children waiting rooms or observation room, interview room. And so it was actually Judge Hetty's proposal. There's no need for him to have a separate bathroom because we have in this program we've created, we share space, and we had already had to increase our space because of adding those additional things. We were trying to be very efficient and mindful of how much space could actually be used at any given time. None of us are in the same building at any time because we moved between 3 counties. So it would be unheard of for all the restrooms to be in use. And so we don't want a situation we've seen in other courthouses where things have gone just because of lack of use, poor management, and we wanted to be responsible with our fiscal duties and also a management of the building for the foreseeable future.
Okay, all right. It's not going to require you to go out anywhere. You don't have to leave the security area, I guess, to use.
Correct. Correct.
All right. My other question has to do with is about the adequacy of, like, where do people gather? People hang out before they come to court, and they just do. And especially in family court, where if you're going to close the courtroom, where are these people going to be? You don't need spectator space, it seems to me, as much as you need space for them to wait. Is there adequate space, Danny, for these waiting areas for the public? Danny, you're muted, so I'm sure you're.
Yeah, in this program, we do have lobby space that, as you can see, we do have fixed seating in that space on the second floor, as well as
some down here.
Yeah. in the first floor as well, right off of the security area.
Yeah, and just as far as the the program is concerned, we have complied with the program area as far as the amount of actual public waiting seating area. But I think in addition to that, there are generous spaces downstairs and where it spills over into the restroom, where there's also just space that we did not include in waiting space in the program, but where people can kind of spill out beyond that. So yeah, I mean, based on the projects we've done in the past, the proportions that we see here are fairly consistent, even where there's a family court involved. I don't see any place where we didn't cut any out, nor do I think it appears to be insufficient based on other projects.
This is Judge Amy Anderson. It looks like, and based on what Judge Rogers was saying, and being a judge in a multi-county jurisdiction where we're not at the same place, those waiting rooms in the larger trial courtroom or the space in the trial courtroom has that option to be used as staging area and waiting area if needed, right, Brandy?
Yes, you're exactly right. We discussed that because it's impractical for us to all be at the same location outside of an emergency hearing. So we would be able to have easy transition between the two courtrooms, and all 4 of those attorney rooms would be open and available. That is what we kind of imagined or envisioned.
These 4 here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Other questions or comments with regard to the design itself?
I will
Chief,
make.
I'm sorry, this is Whitney. Which county are we looking at here?
This is Crittenden County.
Thank you.
Okay. Judge Anderson, you had a question?
Yes, I had one other comment. With 4 small counties, we have 2 that have the security and the bailiff monitoring rooms separated like this, and we have 2 that the monitoring room is adjacent. And I will tell you that we find that we have better security and use of the bailiff monitoring room when it's immediately adjacent to the space for security. I know that may not be able to be captured in this space at this part of the planning process, but I would just like to comment for future reference. I think we really see better use of our bailiff monitoring security when it is immediately next to and not across the hall from the entry desk. So that's just something for future thought.
All right. Other questions or comments? All right. Now, I guess there were questions. Danny, where are we on this thing? We're discussing the financing piece.
Yes, RJ Palmer is on with us. I think RJ can probably give us a kind of a summary of our financing plan and where we are at with the addition of the use allowance money that the General Assembly has authorized this session.
And RJ, if you want me to put this back up and show that summary page at some point, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice Minton. RJ Palmer with Compass Municipal Advisors, financial advisor for the project. Based upon the current estimates of Sherman Carter Barnhart and the authorized use allowance of $1,190,800, the draft plan of finance that you have in your packet, we estimate to be able to issue the debt at 3.41% fixed for 20 years with an average debt service of $1,187,500, so slightly less than the authorized use allowance to build the project with the current estimates.
Questions? RJ, thank you. RJ.
Thank you.
All right, Danny, what else we got on this at this point?
The only item on this project, and I don't know if any of the PDB members or Judge Newcomb, if you want to speak or have anything to say regarding the Crittenden County project.
Yeah, Danny, thank you. And thank you, Chief Justice and other members of the Court Facility Standards Committee. Just from a community point of view, looking forward to this long-awaited project. Obviously, I think everyone's fully aware of the issues with our current facility and the need for this project. So I just want to thank everyone for being with us today and looking at what we have planned thus far and look forward to moving forward. So, and again, as Danny mentioned earlier, if anyone has further questions, I think any of us on the PDB would be happy to try to address those.
Okay. Just for our benefit, Judge, who now on the PD, who's here a part of the Crittenden Project Development Board? Judge?
Yes, sir, Justice Minton. We have Judge Brandy Rogers and our local bar association representative, Bart Frazier, and also our circuit clerk, Melissa Guil.
Any other member of the PDB? One of the judges spoken very well. Anybody else have any comments to make about this? It's been a while since I've been over to Crittenden, but I am very much aware of the current need. I happened to be there on a day when the circuit jury was called in and someone was attempting to get up the steps and couldn't make it up the steps because he had lung disease and the chair wasn't working. So that's a typical day in the Crittenden County Judicial Center, I'm afraid.
Yes, sir. And fortunately, we've had good partnership with our EMS folks and have been able to call them for lift assist periodically if need be.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that you have to resort to that.
Yeah. This is a needed project. But any other comments before we move on here? Now, Danny, we're going to need a motion, right?
Correct, Chief. If there's no other questions of our design team, financial advisor, or the PDB, we would just need a motion to approve the Phase A schematic design by the Court Facility Standards Committee.
All right. I would entertain such a motion from somebody, a member of the committee.
So moved, Chief. Yes.
I have a motion from Director Givens and a second from somebody here.
Todd.
All right, Todd Mansfield. All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this approval? All right, hearing none, if you would approve this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hear none. So the matter stands approved. Congratulations to the Project Development Board for having moved us thus far along. I know that you think it's been a long and tedious process, but we're making some progress. And we're really grateful. The General Assembly took this matter up again because of the increased costs and have allowed us to move forward with this, and we're grateful for that too. People in Crittenden County will be well served. Now, Danny, what's next?
I'm just going to give a brief project status update of our other capital construction projects.
All right, before you proceed, anybody who's in the call here that feels like your business is done, you're free to go. This is a public meeting, and certainly you're all welcome, as others are, to continue to be a part of this. But we're going to get an update now from Danny on our other projects.
Thank you so much, Chief. On behalf of Crittenden, I'm so thankful for this opportunity for our county, and I'm going to go back to docket. So thank you all.
All right, Judge. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Chief. We're glad to see this is
Yeah.
finally moving forward.
Good.
Maybe I'll see it before I retire.
I hope so. Me too. All right, Danny, you may proceed.
Just to update you on some of our older projects that we have just completed recently. Henry County, we were able to move into that project, that renovation and addition of the existing courthouse in September of 2021. Operations are going well there. We're kind of working out the kinks, but it seems to be going well. It's a beautiful renovated building.
I have not had a chance to go back since early on in the project, but I have heard others say that really has been an impressive restoration to that historic building. Judge Jones, you've been there, haven't you?
I have, and it is, it's very, very impressive, particularly the circuit courtroom. It's one of the most beautiful I've seen in the state, but they were able to merge historic elements from the old building into the new building, and it's a very functional space. And I know all the folks there are just really excited. I think it's enabled it to remain there in Courthouse Square, and it's a real showpiece of the community. It's very, very, very nice.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right.
And
Danny.
another one of our other projects that we've recently moved into as of November of 2021, Nicholas County, which is a standalone facility, a block away from the existing courthouse. Again, working out a few of the kinks, but everything seems to be going well there. We do have a building facility dedication scheduled for May the 19th for Nicholas County. Our 2018 authorized projects, Bath County, currently, as Jeff mentioned, in the final stages of design and ready to go out to bid. So that project will be bidding this spring. Oldham County, we are in the final phases of design of phase 2 of that construction. As many of you may know, that the historic courthouse, basically the exterior walls, roof, were saved in that building, but we have relocated that on the site. We've been able to move it to a temporary location until we can get the foundation prepped so that it can be put in its permanent site, and then new construction of the interior of that building will occur when we bid out phase 2 of that. So it's pretty impressive. There has been quite a bit of documentation of the move by the media, as well as some press releases that have come out. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, it's pretty impressive. It's definitely a one of its kind construction for our Judicial Center program. So
I don't think, Danny, I have ever in my tenure, and I've done this a while, we spent a lot of time trying to be as faithful as we could be to the commitment to 2 ways. One is the commitment to preserving the history, because there was a great interest in the middle of downtown LaGrange, and we respect that and have tried really hard to be as respectful and honor the interest of preservationists. All of us are interested in that. But we also recognize the needs of a modern court system. And so we've tried to balance that. And I want to thank you for you and other members of the staff here who have worked so hard to try to accommodate in sometimes some pretty contentious settings, how we come together to serve the public. So thank you for.
yeah, and definitely, I think it's going to be a project, although both, many have conceded in some of their wishes. I do feel that that's going to be a project that the local community can be proud of there, as well as the state, as far as preservation of that historic building. So,
Well, as a resident of LaGrange as well, it's wonderful to watch that happen. There was really a need there for a new courthouse facility, and I think that current location, will preserve some of the historic concerns. So I really do commend you all for the work you've done in balancing both those interests. And I think it'll be a really good facility once it's finished.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Chief,
And
can I ask a question, not just about that facility, but about all of them?
Yeah, Senator Westerfield, Mr. Chairman,
Whitney.
what's your question?
I was going to ask, this may be a dumb question. I assume that sufficient IT infrastructure is being included in all these projects to make all future builds remote court ready. I mean, you can't, our plans here for new courthouses and facilities and the layouts that we consider and discuss and ask questions of certainly isn't going to change the number of cell towers and broadband fiber lines that are laid everywhere. But I want to make sure that the buildings themselves are ready for that.
That's a really, really important point to make, Senator Westerfield. Danny, you want to respond to that?
Yes, I will. I do feel that, with the events from the pandemic, we have learned a lot regarding the needs in the courtrooms, needs in private offices, and, the technology infrastructure that comes along with that. I had the opportunity to serve on a committee through the National Center for State Courts, where much discussion was had about hybrid courts, hybrid courtrooms, the need for courtroom sizes, reduction in that in some cases, but also just making sure that all courtrooms have the infrastructure and capability to operate as a virtual courtroom alongside an in-person courtroom. So we are moving forward in the infrastructure that it takes to make sure that that's accommodated in our courtrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, one of the things that Danny, I have corresponded with him a bit about this is along that line is also, going forward, we expect more and more people come to court come to the courthouse or approach the courts, whether they come to the courthouse, they do it on their phone. They approach the courts virtually. And there needs to be kind of a recognition in our design. And I know we're trying to respond to that as we design spaces that accommodate the modern needs of
But you know that I fully support that, and I'm grateful to hear that that's an intentional effort here. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Senator.
Just as a practical comment, today our building here in Taylor County is, I think, maybe about 10 years old. Corky, I may not have the exact age right, but our maintenance guy told us today that we're having to do some lighting controlling, rebidding that basically because our lighting control system is antiquated at 10 years. And really it was antiquated about 2 years after our building was done. So it's really hard to stay ahead of the curve of technology, I think. And so I think we have to remember that and try to make sure that we put systems in that are forward thinking as we move forward. But it's hard to stay ahead of that curve. I'm sure that the architects and those specifying systems, the engineers have a heck of a time trying to stay ahead of that. But I do concur that we do need to look at ways to incorporate technology into our courtrooms and to keep that virtual, but it's not going to change things a whole lot because even though I'm still doing a hybrid, I had enough people come in person the other day that, it's still going to take the space. So I don't think we'll see a lot of space changes in that, but I think we do need to make sure we maybe have some spaces that allow for some technology to be used that maybe we haven't had available at this point.
All right. Well, we're talking about kiosks and we're talking about self-help centers and things like that for people who, approach the court system and have to without lawyers. And so we need to be able to accommodate that. And we see that as becoming an increased demand on the system, really. Okay. All right. And Danny, you were giving us an update.
Yeah, the 2020 authorized projects, Barron, Butler, and Crittenden, or I'm sorry, Barron, Butler, and Clinton, all are currently in the process of property acquisition. So we've in all cases identified sites or potential sites and working through making offers or negotiating the prices for those sites in those three counties. Jessamine County property has been purchased on North Main Street. That's 2 blocks away from the existing courthouse. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to try to park in downtown Nicholasville, but it is challenging. So we do feel that the site that we have purchased, which is a 4-acre site, will give us adequate parking for the Judicial Center, as well as alleviate some of the on-street parking around the downtown area. So we are in the beginning stages of design in Jessamine County, and we'll be hopefully in the next few months presenting that to the CFSC as well. And likewise, Scott County, the property acquisition is ongoing there. We have identified a site on North Broadway and West Washington Street, which is basically a block and a half away from the existing Judicial Center, and just to the north of the historic courthouse there. That project, 2 parcels are still, in negotiation at this point. So that project is in the early stages of design as well. And that will be just over 3-acre site for the Scott County Judicial Center. The 2021 authorized projects, Madison County was the only one that we had made a request for in our 2021 budget. That project is the courthouse renovation and addition. So again, trying to preserve the historic integrity of that current courthouse. We are in the later stages of design in that because the county had engaged an architect early on, and we were a little bit ahead of the game. So that project is scheduled to bid in early to mid fall in 2022. And related to some of those projects, temporary courthouses are going to be required for not only Crittenden, which we just addressed because we are raising the existing courthouse and relocating on that site, but also Graves and Madison County as well. We have temporary courthouses in those counties. Crittenden County, we're in the process of receiving best and final proposals from private sector lease offers. Graves County, we do have a lease in place and are in the process of constructing or fitting up the space that we have acquired, which is basically a storefront shopping center in downtown Mayfield. We do anticipate.
Danny, let me ask a question quickly. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was obviously a request for, and I forget the amount of money to cover that lease for the next 2 or 3 years while you all rebuild a new facility there, and that one was going to be in the $18 to $20 million price tag. Am I remembering numbers right? Where am I getting that number from?
Just over 18 million for the Judicial Center project.
Okay. Did that money was it appropriated for the lease, much less, if not also for the new facility itself? Did
Yes.
we appropriate that? Because I don't remember that coming up after. Okay.
Yes.
Well, good.
Yes. You appropriated everything we asked for, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It came up early on in the discussions, and then I never heard about it again, which should have been an indication that it was in there and not being cut or stripped out.
It was. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it was. And how long do we anticipate, Danny, we're going to be in that temporary space in Mayfield?
At a minimum of 3 years.
Yeah, so
Uh,
we're having the
you
whole
know.
court, all of the court operations really in that shopping center.
All but CDW, but we have relocated them into another shopping center that's basically I think about a mile away from
Mhm.
where the court, circuit and district court will function at.
Will the new facility be on the grounds of the old courthouse, or is it moving to a new location altogether?
That's still to be determined. Obviously, the PDB, Project Development Board, will weigh in on that and make a decision. We will follow all of our procurement policies that are set forth in the Administrative Procedures Part 10, so that we basically do a public hearing, and anybody that has property to offer or a suggestion of where the judicial center should go can make those comments at that time. But we will be putting the PDB together in the upcoming months and start meeting probably in midsummer.
So Danny, I know this is not really exactly germane to the point, but what's the status of the ruin of the existing courthouse? Is that going to have to be raised completely, or?
It is. Keiko has had a engineer come in and evaluate not only the historic courthouse, but also the adjoining jail and the county office. And all three of those have been deemed non-repairable. So they all will be raised.
Yeah, well, that's a loss.
It is. And obviously that was one of our most beautiful historic courthouses in the state. And I think it's going to be a loss, but to the community. But obviously, on a lot of these projects that we do, the new design kind of harkens back. And I think that, this one will as well, once the PDB engages an architect on there.
Good. Well, I've heard that because there was a loss not only of the physical structure and obviously the toll it takes on the system and the people who work in it there. That's huge.
Yeah.
We also had a destruction of records, and I'm going to use Judge Bishop, our circuit judge down there. I think I'm going to take him on the road to talk about the importance, Senator Westerfield, of the use of technology to preserve records, because people lost everything. And if you lost the paper, you're done for if you're living on paper, as we have for generations. But this was an example of a place where we really should be bringing stuff into archives, and we're going to really redouble our efforts to try to do that, to try to make
Completely agree with that too, Chief. You make me ask another question, and I don't want to treat this like a judiciary meeting where we venture too off topic here, but I'm curious what the status of that restoration project up in Michigan is on all those records that a third party was going to recover or try to restore.
Yeah, I don't know. Director Stevens, do you know
I can give you.
Okay, Danny.
I can give you an update on that, Chief. All of our active records that were located in the courthouse there, we were able to recover all of our records, and those were sent to Michigan for restoration. But all of our active records have been returned, which was basically everything that was in the clerk's office, circuit clerk's office. So we do have those that they originally came back to Frankfurt. We had those delivered to the Library of Archives. We sorted through those at that time, and we've since taken what we absolutely need to down to the temporary location until we can get file storage set up in the new space where we can take all of our files back down there.
Well, Yeah, sorry, Danny. I just wanted to speak to the additional piece because again, the General Assembly funded the file restoration piece and also for us to scan these active records and to get digital images of those.
Good, good. Thank you. Again, thank you for that. That's a lifesaver for us. We appreciate it. All right, Danny, we keep,
Oh, no, you're fine, Chief. Just one more quick update. The Madison County courthouse renovation and addition will require us to move completely out of the courthouse while that is occurring. So we do have, the county does own an old bank building that we are working with the county to fit up. We will, that will meet our needs while the construction's going on for the courthouse. The anticipated timeline that we will be in that temporary location is basically, I think, between 18 to 24 months. So, obviously that it will be able to move into that a little bit quicker because we are further on in the design as well as the limited construction. We already have the structure there. We're just making major upgrades and retrofit for the space. So,
okay.
If I may, I'm
Yeah.
afraid that I forgot to put Clinton County on the list.
I spoke to it, Corky.
Okay.
We're in site acquisition or site
Acquisition.
discussion there.
Yeah, good. Thank you. All right, Danny, anything else now under the category of project status updates?
And no other updates that I have, Chief.
All right, good. So we're to the place on the agenda that calls for other discussion. I don't know what that is, but I'm welcome. The floor is now open for other discussion, if you have any. I want to welcome our new members. We've added Judge Alexander and Judge Anderson. We appreciate your being here. Judge Alexander, you're getting ready to figure out what all this is we're talking about, right?
You're correct.
Yeah, we're in acquisitions phase somewhere, I think, in Barron County.
I anxiously look forward to the day when we are talking about ours like we just talked about Crittenden County. It doesn't look like it's going to happen real soon, but I think we're moving.
Well, good. Judge Anderson, you've been through this lots of times, haven't you?
Well, I actually never served on any of the committees, but they were under construction while I was, as I was coming onto the bench, and also while I was clerking for Judge George. So I got to know a lot about that process through that. I'm very excited to be a part of the process. I've enjoyed working with Corky in the past on our buildings. And have been through a lot of stuff with how designs went wrong as far as systems and mechanics go. And so, but I will say I drove through Henry County last fall, and just the way that building just seems to just have looked like it always existed in that way. And the excellent design that is given, like I didn't know what the old Crittenden County courthouse looked like, but I've looked it up since Mr. Gregory was talking about the elements. And it's great to see beautifully designed buildings that function well be designed. And so I'm happy to be a part, and thank you, Chief, for appointing me to the committee.
Glad to have it. Glad to have it. All right. So we're down to other discussion, and of course, any is welcome, but we'll just conclude in this. Any remarks now for the good of the order? Director Gibbons, do you have any remarks for us at this point?
Chief, I don't. I am still here. I'm excited that we have so many projects underway. I want to thank Danny and Mark and the entire capital construction staff. I think this is probably the busiest we've been, Danny, in 10 to 15 years, at least at a minimum. So we are definitely trying to make the most of this period and appreciate the capital construction team very much.
Well, I'm going to have to tell a little bit of a personal story. I was invited to join the group on the day after the tornado and go to Mayfield. And I was along for the ride, but I was so proud to be associated with that group. It sort of represents to that community the best of who we are. And I'm really grateful for the work that you do and the dedication that you have to the system. So is there anything else? If not, I won't prolong the meeting. I think we've done good work. Danny, do we have any other business we need to take care of?
I think that's it, Chief. Thank you.
All right, you all. Thank you so much for your participation here. The meeting will be
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Danny.